$200 instantly. Just for betting $5.
Got him!
Yurt. Celebrities have a long history of influencing consumer behavior. It's why they're often used as figureheads to sell certain products. As I've mentioned in previous videos, they have this allure and status that makes their lives seem aspirational. And it's this allure that the companies they're advertising for use to empty our pockets. It's just how branding works. Associate a product with a person or lifestyle to A, sell it to that matching demo, or B, make it aspirational to sell to any demo that can afford it. And aspirations aren't always what you think of, not a major goal per se, but satisfaction. You want satisfaction? Buy this laundry soap. Use this brand of shoe. Eat this snack. Which backfired on me as a kid when he pushed those Slim Jim commercials. I was legit terrified of Macho Man Randy Savage.
Very sleepy, Now step out of it and step in old beefy spicy Slim Jim, oh yeah!
Hey, I was 4. Shut up. But at the same time, it did work with Busta Rhymes in those Mountain Dew commercials back in the day. I drank so much of that damn soda. It works everywhere, from Basketball Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal and his marketing for Icy Hot, or his marketing for General Car Insurance, or Papa John's, or his soda, his gummy candy, hell, even these. These are Shaq branded glasses, and I didn't even notice until I'd already paid for them. I swear that man is the king of endorsements. But the wrong ambassador can also cripple a brand. There's a singer from the 70s, Anita Bryant, who became an ambassador for orange juice. It sounds weird, but it was right when distributors were getting the hang of making and shipping orange juice that wouldn't immediately rot. Spoiler, you're not tasting oranges, you're tasting citric acid and sugar. But I bring her up because Anita Bryant went on an anti-gay tirade that ended up with several boycotts of citrus products until in 1980 when she lost her job as a spokesperson, her singing career tanked, and she got divorced.
And went into a place called Norfolk, Virginia, and were met with protest and all kinds of problems. And every...
Hey, what do Christian folks say? God don't like ugly? Well, I guess he wasn't feeling Anita's pettiness and spite. But what I want to talk about is a different type of marketing. The kind where you don't get anything in return. In fact, these are advertisements that almost guarantee that if you sign up, you will lose money. Now, would you readily sign up for an app or a website if I said, hey, give me $500, and in return, you can tap this screen a few times? I'll even toss in $250 you can add to your button pressing. What do you get in return? Well, if we're lucky, and we usually are, you won't get a thing. Not only that, but you'll be back tomorrow to give us even more money. I'm talking about gambling ads, and I'm sure you've noticed the proliferation of GM Casino, DraftKings, Sportbook, sign up now to get a bonus credit commercials. They've been a staple for 10 to 15 years at this point, depending on where you live in the country. But what is new is the actual celebrity endorsements. And I don't mean specialized celebrity like a pro gambler or a musician with a cult following. I mean big names, like sure to inflate the budget of whatever project I'm on, Kevin Hart, who I'll be getting into amongst a few others. The goal of this is to evaluate what, if any, concerns these celebs should have when it comes to pushing something they know isn't a net benefit. When it comes to the casino or the marketing of other forms of gambling, the goal is to associate winning with these famous wealthy figures. A great, if not unsuccessful, attempt at driving the audience to a brand is Drake and his tie-in with the gambling platform Stake, which is a social casino. That basically means that you don't play with real money, but with their digital currency that can be traded in for cash or prizes. Which sounds like a casino tied into a Ponzi scheme, and that's basically what it is. The casino, as they call it, runs on crypto and a blockchain, which is not insured and not that secure. You don't have to pay to play, but if you pay, you get more opportunities to win. And I'm not going to get too deep into how the play works because I don't trust it enough to give them any of my personal information. But its primary celebrity endorsement comes from Drake, who can be seen losing millions at these silly slot and flash games trying to show the ease at which you can become successful. I mean, look at this ad campaign. Reported to drop millions on the site. But who says that's even his money he's spending? The man got paid $100 million a year just to do live streams and push a product. A shitty product that lost $40 million in a digital heist. Yeah, man, a great place to tell your fans to put their money. But without getting bodied this summer, those ads might have had a little bit more weight behind them. That many more people might have lost some money. But even the most successful gambler won't reach the Drake lifestyle, making more money than he could ever lose. And with that platform, or rather, I've already said proliferation, a whole shit ton of online gambling sites and apps, they've become new access for those who have otherwise had to leave the house for that sweet, sweet hit of dopamine. There are three main reasons for the increase of online gambling. 1. Aforementioned access. You don't need to leave the home to gamble. More importantly, the financial barrier to entry is lowered so the average Joe can risk a few bucks on a regular basis. 2. Setting up a digital gambling establishment is cheaper than building and designing a physical location, not to mention the permits and authorizations for local governing bodies. 3. The acceptability of gambling in American culture, with roughly 88% of Americans seeing gambling or casinos in a favorable manner. But that doesn't mean it's been all slot machines and complimentary mojitos. As early as the year 2000, congressional lawmakers feared that increased access to gambling will lead to more instances of financial insecurity. And the two largest demographics for these concerns are the youth and the compulsive gambler. Internet gambling may be especially enticing for the young because they have the familiarity with and access to computer-based technologies. In addition, virtually all internet gambling businesses operate outside the United States, and most do not conduct strict age verification checks. That quote came from a paper written in 2000, almost 25 years ago, and pretty much right before American internet gambling was legalized fully. Now you have MGM Grand Casinos, whose headquarters are in New Jersey, that are expanding to Europe with markets in UK and Sweden. And with increased access to consumers and collabs with folks like Drake, they promote luxury and a high road lifestyle, normalizing gambling as a pathway to success. Which is similar to hometown hero and Lilliputian multimillionaire Kevin Hart. He too has become associated with status given the millions he makes per film, even the bad ones. I mean, there aren't that many good ones, but he commands that check.
Shit.
He has established himself, especially with those who know his early career, as a rags to riches success story. He's even part of an icon package you can buy through Airbnb when you stay at certain swanky homes, probably owned by the celebs in question.
Cheers.
The new icon category also includes several celebrity experiences, including a VIP evening with comedian Kevin Hart at his members-only Coromino Live Lounge. Guests will join Hart and his friends in a secret speakeasy where they'll treat you to a tequila tasting and live stand-up with some of the best comedians in the game. When some people, not all, but when some people see Kevin Hart, they see a real opportunity to access that success, to make a quick buck to turn everything around. If you listen to the cadence of the ad, you can hear that self-assuredness. And the verbiage implies that DraftKings is doing their customers a favor by throwing in a bonus.
Hold up. Instantly? DraftKings showing up big for the Super Bowl. You got me feeling like Jimmy Johnson in the 90s. Only thing else I gotta say is, how about them instant bonus bets?
There's even an everyman angle that I'll get into in a moment. And yes, sports betting is different from casino gambling, except when it isn't. Because Kevin Hart also shows for the DraftKings casino app with slots and all the other digital and certainly not insanely rigged games. And we, not a total we, but a collective we, believe the games offer a chance at social mobility. I mentioned that some but not all people will see a Kevin Hart gambling ad and associate it with success and actually attempt to make it rich. But that has always been a small number. Casinos will take any and everyone's money. But the bread and butter comes from the limited few with gambling addictions that will have them dumping an entire paycheck on a parlay. Think back to all the flash games we played a few years ago. Candy Crush, for example. Now the game was free. Sign on, crush a candy, watch the number get bigger. But if you wanted extra tries or ad-free gaming, you could pay $1. And some of us did. $1 here or there won't hurt anything, but the money comes from those who would drop $20 at a time on whatever token or upgrade you wanted. I can't really remember the details on that one, somebody let me know in the comments. But I guess I'm saying is celebrities inspire dreams, but ethical boundaries blur when promoting activities with high financial risk. And that is further exacerbated when factoring that gambling ads target not only adults but those on the cusp of legal gambling age.
Want some coke, have some weed. You know me, I'm your friend, your main boy, think the thing. I'm your
To tell you the truth, I didn't even know who this schmuck was until he gave the Cheeto in chief on those ugly ass Tesla trucks. Shits fail at being electric vehicles and fail at being trucks. But I'm talking about Adin Ross, a live streamer with a fairly large influence online. His page is mostly full of what you expect from a man that platformed Donald Trump. Side note, I don't know how you've made it this far and not figured out how I feel about conservative or shills, but if you disagree, you may as well roll out now because you're just going to end up hurting your own feelings. Please unsubscribe. I don't need or want you here. My morals trump,
Boo this man!
any need to grow a base full of people I don't like. Anyway, to give you an idea of what kind of creator he is, among others, he's interviewed Andrew Tate, Candace Owens, and punk-ass Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez sympathizers can leave too. Corny asses.
Yeah, bitch, I said what I said.
And while I'm sure most of you lovely functioning adults don't know who Adin Ross is, I'm willing to bet that your little brother, cousin, son, or nephew does. Yup, and just like a barber with a booster seat, he's grooming children. I typed in a man's name and literally 8 videos of him doing gambling live streams popped up. 8 videos on like 5 different channels, all of him dumping money into mostly virtual blackjack. To give you an idea of the demographic Adin Ross serves, his biggest streams that I could find, but let's keep it a buck, I wasn't looking at hard, involved Joe Rogan and Dana White, 2 men that are notoriously right-wing and dumb as dog shit. Pretty much the same demo of all your least favorites, Shapiro, Fuentes, Walsh, the Paul brothers. Basically any affluent and bigoted white guy they can coerce, red pill, which is really just a co-opted trans allegory, and or bribe with promises of success either financial or social. In developing a framework for this argument, I came across an excerpt from an article on minors and gambling regulations, and as there's no common definition for harmful gambling, safeguards designed to prevent excess, to ensure gambling does not lead to higher levels of crime or social disorder, and to prevent children or other vulnerable persons from being exploited or harmed by gambling are necessary. Psychological literature shows with empirical evidence that the risk to minors suffering from gambling-related problems is 3 to 4 times higher than adults. Yet, Adin Ross, XQC, who's another bozo I didn't know of before now, and numerous other creators don't see any ethical issues with grooming their fanbase into gambling addicts. Young people search for excitement and autonomy, making gambling seem like a rite of passage into adulthood. It is something that they're conditioned to accept through digital drop items and lotteries. Hell, I was conditioned by the literal lottery as a kid. I'll run over for the numbers from my aunties and my uncles that saw a sign in a paper, or it was great-grandma's birthday or something, and drop $5 here, $10 there on the 3 and 4 number picks. And usually right before the cutoff, so my chubby little legs had to sprint to the newspaper agent or gas station. And it's even worse for Gen Z and Alpha because they are less attached to the rat race. Thanks to apps like TikTok, they may be the most socially conscious generation, at least in the sense of the futility of the career grind. That, coupled with more visible examples of quick wealth, and they are more likely to risk it all for a chance at early success than to trust the 50 to 60 year cycles of 401ks and FICA. And while creating inclusive and exciting ads is a marketing win, the impact on impressionable minds raises serious moral concerns. At what point does full autonomy take over? If we designate that as 18, then what does it say about the marketing that influences development and personality of autonomy before someone reaches adulthood? I needed to unlearn 2 decades of toxic masculinity and nonsense before I could begin to grow into the person you see. What does it take to unlearn a lifetime of poor examples and risk aversion?
Baby, you got ways to make me do what you want. Oh, and you're such a bad influence.
Speaking in binary terms, when it comes to gambling addictions, men are far more likely than women to develop risky habits. In general, most results from abstract gambling experiments would show women to be more risk-averse than men, meaning generally women are less likely to exhibit risky behavior, and while for the most part you can find correlation along gender lines in regard to risk-taking, once specific context is given, the data shows much smaller deviation along the lines of gender. Which makes sense, gender is performative. But one of the studies I came across was actually fairly interesting. Let's keep it a buck, most case studies are boring as hell. But this one studied risk aversion among 300 students across elementary, middle, and high school. It was a simple experiment, 3 jars, each with a prize. Each jar having a smaller likelihood than the preceding of containing a large prize. Long story short, the difference between sex and risk aversion is negligible until you factor in age and environmental factors. And while the evidence from abstract gambling experiments suggests greater risk aversion by women, the evidence from experiments with contextual environments is less conclusive. The heterogeneity in the results is consistent with results from psychology, which tend to show difference in risk attitudes across environments for a given subject. Now let that dense bit of jargon marinate for a second. A difference in risk attitudes across environments. How we socialize. And a lot of the cues that boys, men, and those socialized to be so get are coming from men that not only actively engage in risky behavior, but deliberately or not contribute to less risk aversion in the adolescent boys that follow their lead. Though it's not just the young men we need to worry about. I'm sure most of us have seen these Jamie Foxx casino ads. His ads are more humorous, more demonstrative of the everyman archetype. Literally. The marketing is used to tap into that relatability. And I'll tell you what, ain't no Gen Z or Alpha going to jump on a casino ad because Jamie Foxx is on board. No, Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx are for my generation. O-heads or soon-to-be O-heads. Yeah, I'm an O-head. I'm actually older than Foreign Man and Foreign Land, Little Bill, and John Lewis. FD still got me by a few years, but like only a few of them things. But it's us, our demo, that's getting marketed to with these ads using black comedians and actors. It's all a matter of targeted advertising, but the goal in the end is the same as with this random dude.
Casino, there are so many jackpots that you never know when one will go. So many jackpots.
It's the ideal of masculinity linked to risk-taking and financial prowess being exploited. You as a man know these faces, or in the case of this dude, faces that look like this, and see their wealth in excess. I mentioned in my Kendrick video that it's in entertainment that you can find the most visible representations of black success, whereas white men can project themselves onto successful avatars at various levels. Mind you, I'm only referring to easy visibility. Now, men gamble for identity control and social approval, which can make celebrity endorsements especially persuasive. And it's not just something for the heteros. Neil Patrick Harris is a push towards influencing middle-left voters, elder queers, and fans of Doogie Howser. And it's just as cynical as all the other marketing, but it represents a more niche demographic, showing targeted inclusivity. Not targeting towards the LGBTQ+, but a specific type of masculine, socially acceptable homosexuality. I say this because it brings up a serious question. When celebrities like Kevin Hart, Jamie Foxx, or even Neil Patrick Harris resonate deeply with an audience, should they consider the weight of their influence when promoting risky behavior? If so, at which point do we wave the warning flag? What about booze? 4 of the 5 men I just mentioned are owners who have tie-ins with alcohol brands. Drake has Virginia Black, Jamie Foxx has BSB, Gran Coromino for Kevin Hart, and Neil Patrick Harris has After Hours Espresso Martini. The only one without a tie-in is Adin Ross, who has been open about his own substance abuse addictions, which is commendable, I guess. I'm not watching too much of the little schmuck. I don't care for real. The point is the influence these talking heads have on an audience they cultivate. Beyond financial gain, do celebrities have a moral responsibility to their followers? We tend to lean towards less more often than we do no the lower we get in the age range for a demo. Now, I don't have any kids, so I don't know who's popular with them. Y'all let me know in the comments, so I don't have to keep using Mr. Beast as a reference. But some will argue that a Mr. Beast type has a high moral obligation to his audience of primarily children. I mean, that doesn't stop his moldy lunch lead, his sketchy chocolate, or his shady lotto giveaways, but some would argue that he still has an obligation towards his audience. And when it comes to studying gambling or how gambling markets are developed, there has been a discourse surrounding embedded addictions, or, as a title from one of the many boring articles I read for this says, the social production of gambling knowledge and the development of gambling markets. Basically, when it comes to understanding these markets, we need to understand how consumers learn about them. In relation to the development of these markets, psychological research on gambling problems acts as a de facto form of consumer market research. The construction of the addicted or pathological gambler serves to modulate gambling offerings and is embedded in the knowledge of a producing economy. Most of you understand the true mechanisms at play. When you step into this realm, so long as you step in and lay your money down, they win. A break-the-bank jackpot win won't put a dent in their quarterly earnings report. In fact, when people witness large jackpots, they become more likely to increase risky behavior for a chance to get at what they visually just saw happen to someone else, even though the chance of getting a jackpot is substantially lowered after someone wins. But the casino's biggest dividend comes from those compulsory risk takers. The same ones that drop $100 on a flash game with literally no payout are also more likely to consistently come back for that dopamine hit. There have been studies to suggest that electronic mediated gambling through video games or other online formats can be more harmful to players than traditional casino gambling. These researchers further argue that concerns surrounding compulsory behavior and underage gambling point to a need for government regulation. If we define self-control as a self's capacity to alter its own states and responses, there are 3 potential causes for self-control failures according to some research on gambling addiction. First, to maintain self-control, a person must have standards, goals, or guidelines to help specify their appropriate behavior. Now, since I quit drinking, I developed a bit of a sweet tooth, and a standard I established to keep my sugar down is to not keep any in the house. If I want jelly beans or a tasty cake or something, I have to go out and buy and consume an individual portion. It doesn't always work, but that's the standard. 2. People should engage in frequent monitoring to keep track of their own behavior, which sounds redundant, but it's more about being honest with yourself. If you slip up on a goal, own it. I didn't drop the last 5 pounds I wanted because I ate cereal for dinner for 2 weeks. And this self-monitoring can fail due to a loss of attention. For example, monitoring tends to break down when a person experiences de-individualization, a phenomenon that arises when they are focused on others rather than themselves. So keeping up with the Joneses. And third, both goals and monitoring of those goals presuppose an ability to acknowledge a problem behavior and a willingness to correct it. It becomes a matter of how willing are you to commit to change. I dropped 100 pounds when I made a commitment to change, and that's just me. I packed on too much weight too fast during Rona, and I started giving myself breathing problems, so I had to make that switch up. It's the same rules as most vices. The impact on gambling endorsements on fans' well-being reveals a stark contrast between the short-term gains of celebrities and long-term losses for their followers. Gambling ads, especially when affronted by influential figures like Kevin Hart, Jamie Foxx, even Adin Ross, leverage their charisma and reach to glamorize an industry notorious for its potential to cause financial ruin and emotional distress. While these celebrities are handsomely rewarded for their endorsements, the ripple effects on their audiences often include rising rates of gambling addiction, especially among young men and boys who are disproportionately affected. Kevin Hart and Jamie Foxx, both known for their humor and relatability, have lent their personas to the major gambling platforms. Their portrayals of gambling as a thrilling and rewarding pastime frame it as a risk-free activity enticing fans to try their luck. However, the glossy depictions often mask the harsh reality. The vast majority of gamblers lose more than they win. For Hart and Fox, these partnerships are lucrative opportunities to expand their brand presence, but for many fans, the stakes are much higher. A misplaced bet can spiral into addiction, leading to financial instability, strained relationships, and mental health struggles. Adin Ross, a prominent figure in the online streaming community, represents a newer wave of gambling endorsements. By streaming gambling sessions to millions of viewers, many of whom are impressionable teens and young adults, Ross normalized the activity in a way that feels personal and aspirational. His success story, winning big on live streams, paints an unrealistic picture of gambling rewards. The accessibility of online gambling platforms exacerbates the problem. Like traditional casinos, they are available 24 hours. But unlike traditional casinos, they only require a smartphone, making it easier for young people to fall into the trap. The rise of online gambling has made addiction even more pervasive, particularly among young men. Research shows this demographic is more susceptible due to a combination of impulsivity, societal pressures, and targeted marketing. Gambling companies exploit these vulnerabilities with precision, often using celebrities' endorsements as a lure. The illusion of quick riches is especially appealing to those facing economic or social challenges, creating a cycle of dependence and despair. Ultimately, the contrast between celebrity gains and fan losses highlights the ethical shortcomings of gambling endorsements. While stars like Hart, Fox, and Ross enjoy hefty paychecks and enhanced visibility, their audiences bear the brunt of the harm. The financial and emotional toll of gambling addiction underscores the need for stricter regulations on such endorsements, as well as greater public awareness of the dangers they pose. Without these measures, the well-being of countless fans would remain at risk, sacrificed for the fleeting profits of a privileged few. Gamblers seek community and hope, which celebrities symbolically provide. Celebrity influence is powerful and it can inspire positive change. However, sometimes ethical considerations should guide endorsements, especially for activities like gambling. Or should they? How much stake should they have compared to the access and influence we have on the young men and boys we're in community with? Celebrities can drive meaningful conversations about responsibility and influence, paving the way for more thoughtful advertising. But it's ultimately up to the consumer. What does it mean to have autonomy when that idea of self is shaped by external forces? That's most of human existence, actually. So when it comes to risk aversion, where does the responsibility really lie?